letter is capitalized. That's what it's going to do. Now I have some other methods here that I want to show you, but I'm not going to take the time to type them all out because they're basically used in the same way. It's just dot and then the method. So I'm just going to paste them in and go over them real quick. So we have upper, which is going to make all uppercase, make all your characters uppercase. We also have lower. We have swap case, which will swap the cases. This len is actually a function that can be used on strings, lists, basically any data type, and it's going to get the length. So in this case, it would get the amount of characters in the string. We also have a replace method. So if we wanted to take the word world and replace it with everyone, if we were to print this out, it would say hello everyone. Count, so if we want to have a substring like just H, we could count the number of H's inside the string. Starts with is going to return a true or false value based on how it starts. So this would return true because our string does start with hello. Ends with is the same thing, only it's going the other way. It's ends with, this would return true because our string does end with D. Split is going to take our string and turn it into a list, which is basically an array, and it'll have all the words in the list. Okay, find is going to find the position of a character. So in this case, it's going to look for the first R. It's going to give you the number, basically the position number. Is alphanumeric, alphabetic, and numeric. These are all going to return either true or false based on if all the values are either alphanumeric, alphabetic, or numeric. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this. And it's just going to log all of the prints that we have here. So basically this list right here is from the split. So it splits hello world into a list. Find is going to look for the position of the first R, which as you can see is 8. All of these, the alphanumeric, alphabetic, and numeric, these will all be false. And the reason for that is because of the space. If I were to get rid of that space, it's now alpha and alphanumeric. So we should get true for those two. So if we run that again, you'll see we have true for both alphanumeric and alpha. Of course, it's going to be false for numeric. All right, so yeah, I mean, there's other methods as well. I just wanted to give you some examples of some of the string methods. So let's go ahead and clear this up and let's move on. So we're now going to talk about lists, which are very, very important in Python. They're basically like arrays. So if you've dealt with JavaScript or PHP and many other languages, it's similar to an array. Okay, so let's first just create a list. And in the definition is a collection which is ordered and changeable. They also allow duplicate members. Okay, there's other data types that, for instance, are unordered and don't allow duplicate members, and we'll get into some of those in a little bit. But let's go ahead and create a list. So I'm going to say numbers, variable called numbers, and we'll set it to some brackets, and we'll just put a bunch of numbers in here. Okay, so that's one way to do it. We can also use a constructor. So I could say, let's do numbers 2, and we'll set that to the list constructor. And this is actually going to take in another set of parentheses, and then we can put our values in like that. Okay, so this is going to, both of these are going to create the exact same thing, a list with 1 through 5. So if I go down here and I go ahead and print numbers and numbers 2, and we run this file with python 3 list.py, you'll see that they're both the same really. But this, I don't really like doing it this way. I don't really like using constructors. It's just like in JavaScript when you can say like new array and then put your array in, which I don't use either. So this is the more common way to create lists. All right, now I'm actually going to create another list called fruits, and this is the one we're going to work with. So this is just going to be an array of strings like apples, oranges, we'll do grapes, and pears. All right, so we have a list of strings. Now I want to go over some of the stuff that we can do here, such as get a single value from a list. So to get a value, let's do a print, and let's pass in the name of the list, which is fruits, and then we just want the index of whatever it is we want. Let's say we want oranges. We would use 1 for that, and the reason we use 1 is because lists are 0 base, okay? Just like pretty much any array in any language, it's going to be 0, 1, 2, and so on. So if I go ahead and run this, we get oranges. Now let's say we wanted to get the length of a list. So for that, we use the same len function that we use for a string. We just do len and then pass in fruits. Okay, so if I go ahead and run that, we get 4 because there's four items or values in this list. Let's say we want to add to it, or I should say append. We want to add to the end of the list. So we'll say append to list, and we can do that by just saying fruits.append, and then whatever we want. Let's say mangoes, and down here we'll just go ahead and print fruits, and let's run this. Oops. And it's just gonna go ahead and add mangoes to our list and then print it out. All right, at the same time we can remove stuff, so let's say remove, and we'll say fruits dot remove, and then we can simply put the value in. Let's say we want to remove grapes. Okay, so if I save this and we go ahead and run it, notice that grapes is now gone. If we want to insert it into a specific position, not just append it, we can use insert. Okay, we'll say insert into position. So say fruits dot insert, and we want to pass in where we want to insert it, which is going to be position 2, and then the item we want to insert, which is strawberries. All right, so let's save that and let's run it. Now you can see strawberries is now in position 2, 0, 1, 2. Now we can also remove from certain positions. So up here we use the remove method and we pass in the value. We can also remove it by the position by using the pop method. Let's say remove with pop. So we'll say fruits dot pop, and let's take strawberries out, which is in position 2. Okay, so if we run that, now you can see strawberries is gone. We can also reverse the list by saying fruits dot reverse. If we run that, now you can see that mangoes is first and apples is last. We can also sort. Okay, if we want to sort alphabetically, we can say fruits dot sort, and if we run that, you'll see it's now in alphabetical order. You can also reverse sort by same thing, just calling sort, but passing in reverse equals the Boolean of true. And now if we do that, you can see it's sorted in the opposite direction. All right, so there's other stuff, there's other methods and stuff, but these are some of the really popular ones. Oh, if you wanted to change a value, you could do that as well. So let's actually, let's say fruits, and we'll say the first value, we want to change that to, I don't know, blueberries. Okay, so if I run that, you'll see, well, we're doing a reverse sort, so it's at the end, but it replaced apples, which was in the 0 position, with blueberries. Okay, so that's lists. Let's move on now to tuples and sets. Okay, so we want to go to tuples underscore sets.py. So a tuple is a collection which is ordered and unchangeable. Okay, and it does allow duplicate members. The important thing here is unchangeable. Okay, so let me give you some examples. I'm going to clear this up down here, and let's create a tuple. So we'll call this fruits, just like we did with the array. And to create a tuple, you want to use parentheses. Okay, we'll say apples, oranges, and grapes. Now you can also use a constructor just like you can with lists in just about any other data type. So I could say equals tuple, pass in another set of curly braces, apples, oranges, and grapes. All right. And if I want to print fruits and fruits 2, and we want to run Python 3 tuples underscore sets.py, and there we go. So they're both the same thing. And I don't really use the constructor. So one thing to remember with tuples is if you only have one value, you want to leave a trailing comma. Okay, so if I say fruits 2 equals, and I go just apples like that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to print out fruits 2, and I'm also going to print the type. Okay, so I'm going to say type fruits 2. And let's see what that gives us. So it gives us apples, no parentheses around it, and it says class string. Okay, so if you don't have the trailing comma, it's going to look at it as a string. If I put a trailing comma like that, even though it looks a little weird, if I run it, now you can see it's clearly a tuple, and it has a class of tuple. Okay, so just remember that. Let's say single value needs trailing comma. All right, so to get a value from a tuple, it's just like you would with a list. So we could say print, let's say fruits 1, get rid of this. Okay, and we'll run it, and we get oranges because oranges is in the 1 position. Now, I showed you with a list, actually let me just put a comment here. I showed you that with a list we could say like fruits, grab one of the indexes and change it to, let's say, pears. But with tuples, you can't change the value. Okay, just right up here it says unchangeable. So let's see what happens when we run this. We get this type error, and it says tuple object does not support item assignment. Okay, tuples cannot be changed. Let's see what else. If we want to delete a tuple or anything really, we can use the del method. So we can say del. Let's do fruits 2, and then if we were to print fruits 2, let's see what happens. You'll see it says right here. Wait, actually it's still giving us the error from this, so I'm going to comment that out and run it, and it says fruits 2 is not defined. Okay, we did define it up here, but we deleted it completely, so now it's no longer defined. All right, we can also use len with tuples. So let's get the length of fruits. And we'll go ahead and run that, and we get 3. Okay, so fruits has 3 items in it. All right, so let's move on to sets. So I'm going to clear this out. Now, a set is a collection which is unordered. Okay, so it's unordered and it's unindexed. There's no duplicate members. Okay, so I'll show you exactly what that means. But to create a set, let's use fruits. Shoot, we already used fruits up here. We'll do fruits set. And a set is created with curly braces. And I mean, you kind of have to decide when you're programming. You have to decide what the best data structure is to use. Should you use a list? Should you use a set, tuple? I mean, every situation is different, and some work in certain situations and some don't. I mean, if you don't want to have duplicate members, then a set might be what